And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we are T-minus 5 days until Donald J. Trump is sworn into office. But tonight, big things are already underway. Here at home, Donald Trump's cabinet nominees, they are demonstrating a very high level of competence and integrity at their Senate confirmation hearings. Also coming up tonight, we will show you how Donald Trump's pick for AG, Pam Bondi, literally flipped the script on the congenital liar Adam Schiff. It was a moment. If you missed it, you missed a lot. Also tonight, a major accomplishment for the president-elect overseas. This is really big news and good news. We're going to bring you the details of the Middle East peace deal that was reached with Donald Trump getting it across the finish line. Why? By strength, by fear that he instilled in foreign adversaries, and they know he means what he says. But first, I don't know any other way to put it, just a pathetic farewell address from a frankly pathetic career politician filled with delusion of success and petty political attacks. What you just heard tonight, and the typical mumbling, bumbling, and stumbling as usual, every cliche imaginable, false hope for the next president to do so well after really doing nothing but sabotage Donald Trump before he gets into office, a corrupt family, a weaponized DOJ that has caused massive harm to our justice system. In the end, a sad, pathetic, angry man that you decide, what did he accomplish? Ask yourself. He failed to mention that we are now on, by the way, preemptive pardon watch, as the president now reportedly considering get-out-of-jail-free cards for his brother, for Anthony Fauci, for Liz Cheney, for Benny Thompson, and a whole list of others, maybe even himself. He also failed to mention his greatest legacy, and that is the millions upon millions and millions of unvetted illegal immigrants that poured into this country, including violent criminals, murderers, rapists, gang members, cartel members, and known terrorists. We don't know where they are. We know that they are here. This is what Joe is leaving behind for Donald J. Trump. And by the way, mark my words, the greatest legacy of Joe Biden will be these unvetted illegal immigrants, the crimes they commit, and the possible terror attacks on our homeland. Instead, in tonight's, quote, farewell address, we got more class warfare against a handful of billionaires, oligarchs, as he's calling them, who don't support him. His family had no problem taking a lot of money from a Russian oligarch, the former First Lady of Moscow, or dealing with wealthy companies in Ukraine and China. I didn't mention that part either. And, of course, then he gave a dire warning about the left's favorite boogeyman, climate change, the biggest existential threat to our country, and a call for more censorship online after it was Joe Biden himself who coerced big tech into censoring the facts about COVID-19, along with the truth about the very real laptop of his son, Hunter. And that real story, that was Winkin' Tony Blinken that tried to cover it up, organizing a letter with 51 former intelligence officials supposedly debunking the story as Russian disinformation to give him a talking point before a debate. And meanwhile, not one of those people ever one time saw that laptop or knew a thing about the laptop. This was a typical Biden speech. It was disorganized. It was mumbling. It was uninspiring, riddled with visions of grandeur about himself, along with doom and gloom about political rivals. You decide.
My farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy. Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever. The powerful forces want to wield their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis, to serve their own interest for power and profit. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling, Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We need to amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office.
It was his administration, his DOJ, that was pressuring big tech to tell a lot of those lies. You can't make that part up. Now, ultimately, Biden's 5 decades in the Washington swamp were never about service or making this a better place, always about himself and his own personal gain. The results, they speak for himself. So tonight, look, forget about what I think. Ask yourself. Every American needs to ask themselves tonight, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Can you identify one policy that he implemented that improved your life? Economically, everything you buy in every store you go to costs more. Interest rates are higher. You're paying about $1.50 more a gallon for gasoline. Are you better off? Are you more safe and more secure both here at home and abroad? After nearly 50 years of working for government, Biden, he owns multi-million-dollar mansions. He goes on lavish vacations. He's worth reportedly millions of dollars when most of his career he made $200,000 or less. And people will always call him Mr. President. That's fine. At the same time, Americans, most Americans I know, and the polls show this and confirm this, are far worse off, especially the middle class that he claims to have a monopoly of compassion on. Joe Biden didn't seem to care less. For him, it's his mission accomplished moment. Meanwhile, the incoming administration is already, they're hitting the ground running. This is an amazing phenomenon we are witnessing before our eyes. Real successes for you, the American people. This is real safety and security abroad. Breaking today, a ceasefire deal in Gaza. That means freedom for 33 hostages, hopefully more, a plan for a lasting peace. Just 1 week after Donald J. Trump delivered this warning. Take a look.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Can you elaborate? And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that.
Today would not have happened were it not for that moment. Donald Trump, he didn't just warn the terrorists of Hamas and their friends in the Middle East. He took action. The president-elect, he sent a delegation, you saw Steve Witkoff in that video, to the region to negotiate a deal. A deal has been struck. According to Arab leaders, Donald Trump made more progress in one meeting than Joe Biden did all year. Top Qatari officials now said Trump and his envoy pushed this deal over the finish line, and they thanked Trump for his leadership. Take a look.
You, as you say, have been working on this deal for many months. And the question is, why now? Why this moment? And was it pressure from the incoming Trump administration that got it over the line? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Hilda, for this question. Actually, we've been raising the question of the right moment for the entire period since the collapse of the first phase. But we have seen a momentum that started to build in the last month, and we kept pushing for that, working together very closely with our partners. And I can say that what we have seen from the U.S. in the past few days, seeing a collaboration transcending both administrations, was a clear demonstration for the commitment of the U.S. to reach to that deal. And I really would like to thank both the envoys who are here with us.
Instead of being happy, back at the White House, Joe Biden was seething. One day, of course, after forgetting how to sign his name on a bill during a bill signing ceremony, the frankly petty, incompetent current president tried to take full credit for the plea deal he announced about 2 hours after Donald Trump. Take a look.
Thank you.
Books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
No, that would be Donald Trump made this happen, not him. That's the joke. Anyway, Joe Biden, maybe he should circle back to his own State Department. They thanked Donald Trump earlier today in case he missed it.
When it comes to the involvement of President-elect Trump's team, it has been absolutely critical in getting this deal over the line. I will just say, lastly, I don't know if it's unprecedented to have envoys from an outgoing and an incoming administration sitting at the same table negotiating a ceasefire agreement of this kind. But if it's not unprecedented, it's certainly unusual. And we, of course, thank the Trump team for working with this on this ceasefire agreement. We think it's important that they were at the table.
You know, it's interesting because it was Donald Trump that sent his envoy on his own dime to the Middle East to relay the message that all hell would break loose if, in fact, they didn't get this deal done. And as we look back on the 4 years of Joe Biden's presidency, do you think he was qualified for this job? Were we right when we warned before the 2020 election that he was not cognitively strong enough for the job? Again, that's a decision you, the American people, will have to make.